Go back to that trial. I mean, you've got the verdict now. First of all, talk personally. What was it personally for you to help lead the prosecution?
Well, you know, I felt it an honor, and I also felt it was part of my duty as an American to be one of the prosecutors on this case. I really saw it as service to country in the same way that others have served our country. We were defending our democracy. It was our belief. We had a president who the evidence showed overwhelmingly attempted an attempted coup of our democratic process and the peaceful transfer of power for the objective of maintaining power to himself. And so we were there in our minds representing the people of this country to execute the conviction as well as the disqualification of President Donald John Trump.
What do you think it accomplished in the end, now that you look back over the entire experience? I mean, did it serve to hold Mr. Trump accountable for what happened?
While we did not receive the conviction, which in all of our minds was heartbreaking, we went in there believing that we could find him guilty, sufficient for all of the senators to find that. Our objective was to argue to 100 senators, not to just the Democrats, not to just 17 Republicans, but to all of them. And I think in doing so and preparing ourselves that way, we were able to demonstrate to the American people and indeed to the world the truth of who Donald Trump was. The truth that he, in fact, garnered to himself some of the basis frustrations and the hatred that is within some Americans, galvanized them and sent them to the Capitol to execute his desires. And I think that in seeing that, we see that a majority of the senators agreed with us. The American people do as well. And I believe that that is the death knell to any political ambition that he may have in any political office in the future.
It strikes me it wasn't just the 57 senators who voted to convict who agreed with you on the responsibility. We had the minority leader, Mitch McConnell, Republican, stand up at the end and say he is responsible. Mr. Trump is responsible morally and practically for what happened. But I don't feel that we can convict somebody of impeachment after they've left office. Is there anything that can be done to reform that going forward, or is that just the way it breaks?
Well, you know, Mitch McConnell is a master of using Senate procedures to his own benefit, twisting and turning himself, depending on whether he's in power or not, to support whichever argument he's going to make. The reason we did not bring the articles of impeachment over while the president was in office, because Mitch McConnell was in fact the majority leader at the time and would not bring the Senate back into session to receive the impeachment articles. Additionally, at the beginning of the trial, that argument was in fact litigated. Motions were made, arguments were made on both sides, and the majority of senators rejected that argument by the senator. But at the end of the day, he utilized it for his own purposes to admonish the president, but not to convict him, because I believe his objectives were to maintain his minority leadership status and potentially to try, in his mind, to gain the majority in the next election.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quicktake now for insight in an instant.